This week, Governor Newsom announced 10,000 arrests statewide thanks to the millions he's invested in cracking down on retail theft. But what he didn't say is what happens after those arrests. No one, not the governor's office, not the attorney general, not the CHP retail task force, no one could tell us how many people arrested for organized retail theft were actually sentenced, let alone how many went to jail, received treatment, or reoffended. So we tracked down a few ourselves.
Here's how one California momfluencer became a shoplifting queen pin.
The infamous California girls retail theft case quickly went viral.
What this little California housewife did is actually insane.
After the Attorney General, Rob Bonta, publicized the story of the retail crime ringleader and mother of three.
This is a multi-million-dollar criminal scheme.
Michelle Mack ran a sophisticated retail crime ring out of her San Diego mansion, paying women to steal high-end handbags and cosmetics from stores like Sephora and Ulta, which she then sold on Amazon. Mack and her husband were among the more than 10,000 arrests this year, touted by the governor at a virtual news conference this week, announcing the expansion of his CHP retail crime task force.
I mean, those numbers are meaningful.
But what he didn't quantify is what happens after the arrest.
It's about the accountability and the follow-through.
After years of work by the CHP's task force on the California girls case, Michelle Mack and her husband Kenneth pleaded guilty and both faced 5 years in prison. Except Michelle got a suspended sentence so she could stay home with her teenage daughters, while her husband served his sentence in county jail, not prison. And jail records reveal he'll actually only serve about 6 months of that 5-year sentence.
They come out with this big press release, they announce all these arrests, and then poof, you don't know what happens. And in a lot of these cases, when you actually spend the time, you realize that they serve very little time.
Former Sacramento County District Attorney Anne-Marie Schubert has been critical of the state's attempt to crack down on retail crime.
And you have to hold them accountable, because if not, then guess what? Crime does pay.
She points to the Attorney General's prosecution of people like Lawrence Fountain, the ringleader in a string of violent robberies threatening Target and Walmart employees. He had 2 prior violent felony convictions and other cases pending when Attorney General Bonta charged him with 29 felony counts and then dismissed all but one of those charges. Fountain got a 6-year prison sentence. It's not clear how much of that he'll actually serve.
I give credit to CHP for the work that they're doing, but if we're going to spend these resources, arresting people, you have to follow through with the prosecution.
Now, we're talking about just 2 of the organized retail theft ringleaders arrested in California this year. And we had to cross-reference records from multiple agencies and multiple sources just to figure out what happened to them. So what about the more than 1,000 others that the governor's CHP Retail Crime Task Force arrested this year?
It's a complicated question.
Captain Jonathan Starica, a CHP Special Operations Commander, explains after the retail task force officers make an arrest, they hand the case off to prosecutors. And if there's a conviction, the case is then tracked by the state prison system, county jails, or probation.
So centralizing that information would be a challenge.
CHP could not give us the names of the 1,000 plus people that the Retail Crime Task Force has arrested so far this year, so we could not track down the status of those cases. How do we know if it's worth our money and your time to be arresting 1,000 people if we don't know what happened to them?
Well, I think we could say that really with any crime. Do you feel that there's a success rate when we arrest this many individuals, or was it better when we didn't?
The agency did give us statistics, which revealed the majority of the publicized arrests were so-called cite and release, meaning people basically got a ticket and a notice to appear.
When they're given a ticket, 50 to 75% of them never even show up.
Schubert points to Sacramento County, which currently has 30,000 bench warrants for misdemeanor cite and release cases.
That tells you 30,000 people have never come to court. If you took that number and expanded it statewide, we're probably talking hundreds of thousands.
So what we can't see and what we can't measure is how much did we prevent by making that arrest.
The California mom is the alleged ringleader.
In the California girls case, Michelle Mack was arrested and convicted, and the judge ordered she pay restitution and stay away from Ulta and Sephora stores. But we still don't know how much of her 5-year sentence this so-called ringleader will actually serve.